Good morning and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. We have Rinku Ghei from Push Marketing Group joining us again. Rinku, welcome back and thanks for being on the podcast again.
Yeah, great to be here. Absolute honor to be invited back for a third time. So, I'm excited for the conversation. We've had some really good discussions, and I hope people are taking away a few tidbits that maybe they can think about.
I absolutely think so. Um, Nav Bhatia, super fan of the Toronto Raptors. He's been on court since 1995, almost 3 decades. And you've built something amazing, a brand
Thank
that
you.
is going to leave behind a legacy without a doubt. Um, Talk to us a little bit about that because building a brand is one thing, but having it have the longevity that you're going for with Nav, that's a completely different level, and that's something that we really want to talk about today.
Yeah, so I mean, Nav, to give you the history, Nav, obviously super fan, been going to every game since '95. He was anointed the super fan by Isaiah Thomas on center court in 1998, 99, somewhere in there. He's been super fan ever since. I signed him to my company in 2015 with the whole purpose of building the brand, building the legacy. And when you really look at it, he was, enjoying life as super fan and going to every game and, whatever the case was. And, he was selling cars and, enjoying the Raptors. But, when it came time to start talking about legacy, it's a whole different ball game, right? It's a whole different conversation that happens. There's, legacy isn't, what are people doing for me? A legacy is what am I doing for others? And that was the change in mindset, right? Before then, he's the marketing tool for his dealerships, right? Same as any real estate agent, when you're not thinking legacy, you're thinking sales. Yeah, you're looking at the end of the year, what you're looking at is how many transactions did I do this year versus last year? Where's my growth chart and how many cars did I sell this year versus last year? When you start thinking legacy, the lens changes and you start looking at all these opportunities I have and all this, success I have and, this incredible life I'm living. What can I do now to impact that way, as opposed to looking for this to this. And so that's when we had started having the discussion about building the brand and the legacy and impacting kids and, really, really putting that message out there that this is what Nav is really about. This is what he wants to do with the rest of his life. The super fan was a conduit through which we were doing all this.
It's the ultimate immigrant story in
Mhm.
Canada, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of successful immigrants, a lot of successful immigrants, and I mean, you can argue, and anybody with success in Canada is a successful immigrant, right? But I think for us, it was trying to take that and figure out how do you inspire that next generation of immigrants? How do you inspire that next generation of kids growing up with immigrant parents? And that was part of the whole Superfan brand. It wasn't just about basketball, right? It was more about I came here with a ton of strikes. I mean, I'm hanging with LeBron James now, and I'm sitting courtside, and I'm in, so you can do this too. And you've actually got a better chance of doing it than I had because you're second generation, third generation here. Your parents already went through this struggle for you. And so there were multiple layers to the brand when we started looking at, okay, what's the legacy? How are we what do we really want to do? Is building a basketball court a legacy? Is your name on a hospital room a legacy? And those are all traditional ways that, you want to leave your mark behind, right? The big donation to building this room, or buying this equipment for the hospital, or or having your name, something named after you somewhere, and or look, this award being presented to you. And those are all traditional ways to do it. We just decided we wanted to do something a little different, and the conversations we had were being a little bit more community driven.
Right.
It's getting a lot more one-on-one time with a lot of kids, a lot of different immigrants, a lot of just even a lot of different people pop just in general, being able to go across the country. What can we do back home in India, right? We started this Daughters of, well, actually we didn't start it. World Vision had this program, Daughters of India, and in 5 years they had raised $2,000. And so I liked the program, and I made a deal with them, just let me manage it and just get out of my way. And I don't need any of your admin, your marketing or anything. I want as much of every dollar to go to this building washrooms for girls in India so they can continue education. And that was part of the building the legacy, right? I mean, it was, okay, I'm going to use a super fan to do this to impact girls in India. It has nothing to do with the brand, has nothing to do with basketball, absolute zero to do with the dealerships, right? But now all of a sudden, you know, they give us the program, and 4 or 5 years later, we've raised almost $1 million and built, almost 400 washrooms.
Amazing.
Where's that money come from? It comes from a ton of people that just believe in what we're doing. And if you don't think that indirectly results in business, of course it does, right? Because now they believe in, what your brand message is, right? So, if am I going to buy my house with that real estate agent that is doing all this back home and helping girls in India, or am I going to buy my house with that other real estate agent that is going to just go buy some bottles at a club on Saturday night, right?
Wearing the Hermes belt.
Yeah. I'm gonna
I
get
had to,
killed. I'm gonna
I
get
had to
killed for
bring that
this
back.
as well.
Yeah.
I know,
But
but
but I think it's an amazing message because you're inspiring through the Superfan brand, you're inspiring people not to become super fans, not to become, super fan, like to be big followers of the Raptors, right? You're not inspiring them to be, to when you grow up, you're going to buy a car from me or get your parents to buy a car from me. You're inspiring to be good people, to be involved in the community, to follow their dreams and know that they have opportunities the same way that Nav had opportunities that he didn't even realize he had opportunities, but he turned it into something. So you're inspiring that way.
Mhm.
And by doing so, at the end of the day, you do get more Raptor fans out of it. You do get more car sales out of it, but it's all indirect. Like it's sort of like the fall off from what you're really trying to inspire people. And you're inspiring people to become better people, involved in the community, charitable events, and all that, right? Like it's a win-win-win-win all the way down the chain. I think it's really something.
but when you're doing good, that should be a win-win-win down the chain, right?
Right.
There's and you're not doing it because you're looking, to get something back. You know,
Right.
that's what I deal with. I think about that strategy. I think about that, brand possibility. I think about that legacy. He doesn't. He thinks about, I just want to go talk to a bunch of kids. I'm not worried about anything else you're doing, right? And ultimately, when you look at anything you do in life, and I'm personally going through those crossroads as well. What are you doing to inspire people, right? As a successful real estate agent, what are you doing to inspire that next batch? What are you doing to inspire, you know, anybody? What are you doing to inspire somebody that's not even in real estate? What are you doing to inspire somebody that is not going to give you any business at all at any time? Right. And that's your brand. That's the promise you're making from every transaction you do. All right. This is why I do what I do. And, when you can solve your why, your brand fits so easily. It gets put together so easily. Nav has his why. He's built the why over time now, right? And all I do is amplify the why. And again, I started it, a couple podcasts ago. Ask anybody about, hey, who's Superfan Nav Bhatia? They'll maybe third or fourth they'll get to, oh, he's a car dealer. Right. And that's the difference between, living a life that, is inspirational and, building a brand that's positive and why you build a brand. Right. The business is going to come. The success is going to come because, what's a fundamental of any brand? It's trust and credibility. I know when I go to McDonald's, I'm getting the same burger with the same taste every time. Right. I know when I work with Nav, I know what he's doing. And it's trust and credibility.
Can you build one without being a success? Like it takes a lot of resources to be able to, really execute like a super fan strategy properly. Um, and looking at the real estate industry, do you think the average realtor has the resources to be able to achieve and build a legacy? And and if they do, or if it is possible, what would be a quick blueprint to doing that?
There's no such thing as a quick blueprint. You keep throwing that into me. Like there's no such thing. Um, there's no reason, I don't want to say reason, but I don't think the aspiration for anybody should be, I want to be as the next big super fan, right? And you're right. There's resources involved. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of takeaway from his existing business, right?
Right.
It can be overwhelming if you think that way. And I think the easiest thing to do is, look at the opportunity that's around you in your community that you actually believe in, you have a passion for, right? That's where you start your legacy. That's where you start your inspiration, right? And a lot of people now are, jumping online and starting their own podcasts and everything like that. And I think that's great. And it's a great touch point. And, I think it's a great opportunity for, I think you have an opportunity to impact a lot of people. I don't think it really takes, the amount of money it used to take 15 years ago, right? I think you can do it on your phone now. I think it's the message you want to get across. But I think, more than money, it's time you're devoting. And that's one thing that people get confused with when it comes to legacy and building a brand. It's not about writing a check for 50 grand. You can build a legacy just by the time you're devoting to something. Because ultimately, remember, a legacy is what you're doing to inspire that next generation. And it's not necessarily about writing checks. It's this podcast is your guys' legacy. It's part of it. Right? It's what you guys are doing with your platform to try to, inspire that next generation with the knowledge that you guys have, the experience you have, the people that you bring on to it, right?
That's exactly what we set out to do. We wanted to elevate the bar in our industry by whatever we could, by bringing people like you on to, to talk about things and get everybody, reach a little bit higher in what you're doing.
Yeah, and it doesn't take, like some people have more resources than others, and that's great. Some people want to devote more resources to these things than others do. That's great too. But time is a resource also.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, I would probably argue the biggest resource is the one thing you can't get back, right? And there's nothing wrong with I'm gonna go be a part of the soccer community in my neighborhood. I'm gonna go sit on the BIA. I'm gonna go, be a part of this festival or something. Like, time is more valuable than any check you're gonna write to anybody. And some people can raise a lot of money. Some people, it's not about money. your legacy doesn't mean that, they're going to name a country after you. Your legacy is you wake up every day and you're inspiring that next person. Right. And I'm looking at that as well. Like, I'm great. Lots of success over life and with Superfan and everything like that. But at the end of the day, most people start thinking about their legacy when they get to that, 65, 70, 75, sort of phase in their life. I'm trying to think about it now, right? Because there's nothing, and it's not about, I'm going to go out and sit courtside every game and I'm going to start, writing checks and doing all that. It's not about that. It's about, what can I do with my time? You guys called me 5 years ago. I would say no to this podcast. I refused every podcast, just didn't want to do it, just didn't, was super busy, didn't want to devote the time. 5 years later, maybe most of the stuff I say nobody's going to agree with. Maybe one thing they will agree with, and that's great.
Well, Rinku, don't undersell yourself. I'll tell you, you talk about inspiration. You've inspired me for sure today. Like, and this was great. Anybody that's going to listen to this podcast is going to be inspired by what you've had to say. And so we really do thank you for your time, and thank you for coming on for these 3 episodes, because that's my biggest takeaway. You have been inspirational. Nav is a great example, but you're the guy behind that, and he's a great inspiration. But also the way you deal with it is inspirational too. And I'm, as we're doing this, I'm thinking about how can I be better? How can I do things in my profession, in my law practice, in my community? I'm sure David's got the same thoughts, and everybody that's going to meet you is going to have that kind of inspiration. So congratulations to you. It's a great message.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And, I've enjoyed the conversation with you guys. Happy to come on anytime. And, I'm still going to say no to pretty much all the other podcasts, I'll be honest. But, at the end of the day, just, if I can take one takeaway, it's, just look at everything you're doing, your brand, your business. Look at it from a little bit of a holistic level. What's that higher level message? Your logos, your business cards, your all that stuff, that all fits into that.
Rinku, one final question.
Yeah.
Are the Raptors going to do well this year?
I'm not going to answer that question. Because truth be told, I'm actually a little bit more of an NFL fan than anything, but we've got, okay, let me answer it as best as I can. And I won't give you the PR answer. I'll give it to you from a basketball answer. From my experience being around this game for 25 years. We've got some really good young talent. RJ's looking good, Grady's looking good. We've got a great coach. The X factor is going to be Scotty Barnes. Can Scotty Barnes become that next Kawhi Leonard? That's your X factor, because it's not easy for us to attract talent through trades and whatever, and we can argue all the semantics around that, but it's not easy to run the Raptors, when you're in up against, they're the only team outside of USA.
And the tax implications there alone are detrimental. I mean, we can spend a whole episode talking about that.
Yeah, but I think being in the rebuilding phase, that we've got, like, I mean, what RJ is doing right now is incredible, and we think when Scotty gets back, I think if you can have that good trio quickly, we haven't seen what he can do yet. I like this new guy, Sheed. He's got that little killer instinct in him, right? But it's a good nucleus, but it takes a lot to win a championship, as you know.
You need the guy like Kawhi that can play the last 3-4 minutes of the game. There's so much talent. They're all talented to play the first 45 minutes of the game, but who can really come through in the last 3 minutes? That's what champions are made of. So
well, name me an NBA champion in the last decade that hasn't had a top 6-7 player on that team.
You need a closer.
Yeah, and we'll get there. I trust in Masai. I mean, he's brought us there before, and things are going to change there now with Rodgers taking over. Let's see what happens there, but it could be great for us. And you know, I think you just gotta stay like Nav says, stay positive, keep
Hey, the
pushing.
one thing that we know that's not going to change is the super fan.
Yeah, no. If you
He's
ask
going to
him
be
that
there.
question, he's gonna say a championship. So,
Okay.
How well do you know
Thanks, Rinku.
Masai?
I mean, I don't know him like personally, but like you know, obviously we know him, right? I mean, you know, we sat with him a few times and talked to him, but I don't call him up and talk basketball. I'm the last guy he probably wants to sit and talk basketball with.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, but he knows what he's doing. You know,
Yeah.
he's got great relationships, and you know, you talk about building a legacy, right? You know, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And hey, look, he brought a chip to Toronto, so there's no reason why he can't do it again.
You know, the whole grassroots approach and getting people from Africa and getting them excited about coming and joining the NBA, like it's brilliant, right? Like I mean, that's how you build heroes. You build them from the ground up, from day one, and it takes a long time. And you know, you need to have that long-term vision, which is exactly what we were talking about in the last you know, 3 podcasts. So you know, what a great way to end the conversation. Rinku from Push Marketing Group, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on. And you know, if you'd be open to it, we'd love to have you back again to you know, keep diving deeper into the amazing world of marketing. And you know, you've taken it to a completely different level because you've built a legacy. And you know, we can't wait to keep following the story of Nav Bhatia and what you guys are doing out there. You're influencing a lot of lives, and it's fun to see.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, and you know, to let the cat out of the bag, I'm coming into the real estate marketing world. So
Love it.
launching a new company, coming into that world. So I'm looking forward to working with you know, a good handful of real estate agents as well.
Well, let's work together. I'd love to bring you into the brokerage and introduce you to the agents and you know, do whatever I can to support you and help you you know, with that endeavor.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Looking forward to chatting again.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Rinku.
Rinku. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
All the best.